It gives me great pleasure now to invite and introduce our Fireside chat that would like to resume our program with on corporate startup collaborations in deep tech. May we please take the opportunity to invite moderating this wonderful Fireside chat. Here is Joachim Vandaele, founding partner for FutureLabs Ventures, and our two distinguished panelists, Dr. Ethan Chu, founder and chief executive officer for FutureLabs, and Dr. Ettikaan Karuppiah, director for developers ecosystem from NVIDIA. Join me in giving Joachim and our two doctors a big warm welcome, please. Gentlemen, doctors.
Ettikaan, Ethan, good afternoon to you. What a pleasure and privilege it is to sit next to two accomplished gentlemen like yourself. And not to mention the excitement I feel thinking about the topic that we're going to discuss today, corporate startup collaboration. It must be, what, 2-3 years now that this way of collaborating, innovative collaboration between startups and corporates is talked about. It's in the air. And perhaps today, you know, our presence here today coincides with the top of the hype, the peak of the hype. Ethan, first question to you. We all know what happens with anything that is a pure hype. Should we expect a disillusionment phase to kick in soon, calling for more down-to-earth expectations of what it can bring us? Or is the best yet to come, really?
This is a very, very good question. And actually, there are many initiatives for corporate startup collaboration. But as any type of collaboration, it is actually a lot of times it is quite complicated, and many aspects the corporate and the startup must fit each other. So basically, it has to make business sense for both the corporate and the startup, and sometimes there is also like a personal type of feel, like whether the startup feels that the corporate can bring the value and not to exploit the startup and just to learn ideas from startup. And the corporate side, we also need to see the value in the startup so that it is like a trustworthy startup and it can actually indeed bring value to the end customer.
Okay, we might get back to that value add. Perhaps a question to you, Ettikaan. Do corporates like NVIDIA really need startups to innovate? I would find that surprising. Is it perhaps not a sign of, and I'm provocative here, a sign of weakness, that a corporate cannot innovate fast enough, or that it's perhaps even fearful of being disrupted from the outside?
That's an interesting question, right? So why does corporates want to work with startups? There's a two perspectives for that. The first one is, for NVIDIA, we are an AI computing company. We are leading AI computing company. We have the hardware and the SDKs that we make available. So for us, it's a complementing needs to work with startups like Xjera Labs and many more. We have close to 100 in Singapore who does innovative work, solving the actual problem, a real world problem, by using AI technology so that you bring value to the people generally or to the stakeholders. That's the first perspective. Second perspective, we believe from NVIDIA. We have close to about 3,000 startups and AI startups within NVIDIA. Corporates generally is like giant, right? It's like an elephant. They move very slowly. But the startups which are nimble, they are like, I would say, a bunch of people who actually move very fast. Right? They can understand the problem, they can go to the solution very fast, they can test the market. If it is ready, just release and go. So I believe strongly in startups, and they will be the future disruptive technologies companies. that we need to help and support. That's NVIDIA's belief.
Okay. I hear you when you say you believe in startups. But help me to understand, what really is the real benefit of collaborating? Because, Ettikaan, if you think about it, if you really, really like a business like Ethan's business, their product, their people, why not acquire them? Or from your end, Ethan, why would you like to collaborate with a big corporate beyond having them as a supplier or a client? Isn't that, you know, too much trouble?
I disagree the concept of just buy as you like, because you will kill the startups and idea. As soon as join the big ship, the small one will die, right? I totally, personally, I think the startup should leave to strive and excel the way that they can do better, rather than getting into big companies, because you'll be somebody somewhere around the corridor and doing some work where the CEO has no time to talk to you. Unless you are a startup, you just can release a statement. Look, we have done this, we have achieved, and we can shake up a company. Everybody will come and talk to you. Ethan, you can disagree with me, right? So we are not abusing you, like what you mentioned before, but a value-added people. What do you think? Yeah. Right? Do you think the corporates helps you?
I think definitely the corporate helps us a lot. And
how is that?
actually, for a small startup, if we can find a very trustworthy partner, and basically like a corporate, most importantly, it has offices in many countries and many cities. Yeah, so definitely the corporate can help us to expand regionally as well as globally.
Okay, thank you.
Just to add on, right? Like for example, what we have done, a journey with Xjera Lab for the last 2 years and plus. They are part of our NVIDIA Inception program, which we run worldwide. They also have a Metropolis Partner program, where we help them to bring beyond Singapore to the regional market and opportunity for them to grow, besides providing the technology assistance.
Thank you. At NVIDIA, Ettikaan, you are the director of developer ecosystem. Can you explain the audience what an ecosystem really is? Because we hear a lot about that. Is it a way of systematizing this collaboration between startups and corporates?
From NVIDIA's belief, if a startup wants to go out, venture into business, right, especially traditional existing business, there is a huge gap from what you know and what you can do, but making into production quality software product which you can sell to make money. So, for example, in terms of a specific vertical you are looking at, so you have the software guys, you have the OEMs, you have the SI, you have the end customer, you have the integrators, you have the maintenance and support guys, right? So it's very difficult for them to breach from the unique and very capable solution that they have, cut across all these, I would call, layers before they go and commercialize. So that's why in NVIDIA we believe in ecosystem. So we bring the disruptive and very young and talented startups like Xjera Lab, and we bridge them within these layers so that the end customer sees their value and also the uniqueness, so that they can achieve a very good deployment, a successful implementation for whichever vertical they are looking at. Maybe Ethan can share what your experience.
Yeah, so apart from business partnerships regionally, one of the most important aspect is also the technical aspect, because NVIDIA also upgrades their SDK, like the CUDA software, or recently there are some other SDKs that they are developing. So basically, our team of engineers, so they were actually supported on CUDA by some of NVIDIA's technical support team, and that actually helped us to resolve a lot of bugs, where basically if we were to resolve ourselves with the CUDA SDK, we would actually take more time by ourselves. That's actually very important.
Yeah.
Aspect of support that NVIDIA has rendered us.
Thank you, Ethan. It seems like you're quite positive, of course, about participation to this ecosystem. Question though, does it really serve the startup purpose, or don't you see the risk of what people might coin as innovation tourism, where the corporate insists just a little bit too hard for you to open up your business and might learn from that and bulldoze you into things you might not want to do?
Yeah, this is a very good question. So we have encountered some large companies and corporates. Sometimes if we share too much, then we actually see sometimes our staffs in their presentations. But actually so basically the startups have to have a very sound judgment on what corporate to collaborate with. Yeah, so basically the trust has to be there to really move the collaboration forward. And also, if we don't open up anything, and actually we cannot do any collaboration, so there is a risk involved. But sometimes when we being an entrepreneur, we have to really trust people and work with people.
I hear trust, Ettikaan. From your perspective, NVIDIA's perspective, what are the mechanisms or the approaches you have to build that trust and to signal that trust towards the startups?
I think trust is a fundamental, and we ourselves, even though we are 26 years old company, we believe we are still a startup in NVIDIA, right? And startup is very, very important and a key component in any industry. That's what we believe ourselves, right? So with that, we selectively work with the startups. For example, in NVIDIA, we provide 5 to 10,000 worth of deep learning courses free for startups. We give them a discounted hardware for development purposes. We provide our own engineering time, assist them and coach them. And this is a very long-term effort. It takes about 1 year before they could come out with something which is, we think it is probably marketable, where they can make money. So without any benefits in return to NVIDIA, we develop and grow. It's all based on the trust that we have on the startups, like Xjera Labs here with Ethan leading it. But I would ask him as part of the 2.0 innovation. So Ethan, do you want to sell your company, or would you like to bring it to the next level, right? I don't know. Startup is always interesting to know, right? Let's say somebody comes and pays 100 million for Xjera Labs.
I think 100 million is a bit low.
I was in another event. One of the partners of mine wanted to talk to the company, and they said, mine is evaluated 200 million. He said, sorry, I'm a $1 billion company. Are you sure?
So did you say million or billion? It's very different.
Not to mention the currencies. Good. Let's leave that question unanswered, shall we? Let's zoom in on deep tech a little bit more. Ettikaan, what are the opportunities you see in the different industry verticals within deep tech? Are there any particular domains where the opportunities are more appropriate for collaboration between startups and corporates?
So, for example, in NVIDIA, we believe certain vertical are actually going to change in the next 10 years. For example, what has been changing and already people have invested is called transportation industry, autonomous vehicle. It's considered already ongoing for the last 3 to 4 years. The next vertical that we see globally is going to change in healthcare. So today, there's more than 3 million devices out there deployed in hospitals and clinics where large amount of data being acquired. But this data is not touched. There is no analytics being done. So what we see in next 3 to 4 years, there'll be a lot of disruptive startups going to come up, and they're going to acquire the data, and they're going to analyze. They're going to do value-added services to all the health practitioners. Seeing this, NVIDIA has actually recently released an SDK called Xjera. It just last week announced. It's going to acquire, or could understand, all the data sets from various types of images. It could be MRI machines, or it could be ultrasound machines, and so on. The data will be acquired from these traditional machines, which is usually deployed for 15 years, and nobody going to replace that, right? But there will be a mean provided to extract all the data, provide analytics option at the fingertips to the users, to the practitioners, to anybody who are actually in the healthcare industry. And this is going to transform the entire healthcare industry. That's what we believe. Is one of the sector to watch out for. There's quite a number of startups in the space as well, but it's just very early stage. That's what we believe.
Okay, thank you. A question for you here, Ethan. You have built and you are leading one of the largest independent facial recognition software in the world. So I appreciate your product is very sophisticated, and therefore your partners' capabilities are expected to be very sophisticated, I take. But would it not make more sense for you to build collaborations with low-tech or even no-tech businesses? Is the future not about creating partnerships between machines and humans, ultimately?
This is also like a very important and interesting question. Actually, for Xjera, we're very, very open to work with traditional industries, and we actually hope that we can work with as many as like so-called like companies that is not deep tech, but sometimes it is actually not. Sometimes it is not like only like our choice. It is also like a choice of the traditional company in the industry as well. So right now we are still making the effort to really build collaborations with the like companies that are more traditional in the industry. So we are actually working very hard on that as well.
Okay, good. Let me share an interesting statistic. Only 0.8% of all the technical inventions at universities lead to a startup company. On the other hand, the top 1,000 biggest companies, corporates, jointly spent about $700 billion annually on R&D. Why are all these life-changing and perhaps life-saving inventions sitting on the shelf of the patent office, Ethan? What do you think? Could we design a collaboration model where startups are the conduit between research institutions and large corporations as a model to commercialize deep tech inventions?
Yeah, this is very interesting. So actually, it is more. So this one is more about like the role, like the startup that is willing to play, and it is about the drive of the entrepreneur in the startup. So let's say if it is like patents-driven, so basically the startup becomes just like a commercialization engine. So like sometimes that particular patent probably doesn't exist for this startup, and the startup actually more likely wants to build their own patents and want to like really realize their own ideas. And along the way, there may be some like deep tech patents that are there in the university for the startups to license. But the drive, it is actually most of the time is from the startups.
Okay.
Yeah, and if let's say like it is the startup is just a commercialization engine, as what you said, if it is the conduit, actually the collaboration it can just between the corporate and the academia and the corporate can just hire a team of people to basically commercialize this engine, and there's no role for the startup to play. Yeah.
On the same subject, Ettikaan, arguably the VC model as we know it today is broken. We seem to be funding, me too consumer products, but not necessarily transformational technologies. Do you see it as a corporate incumbent role, like the NVIDIAs of this world, to step in and provide funding to these mission-driven entrepreneurs who promise to change the world with their technology?
Oh yeah, certainly. I think from NVIDIA perspective, every year we actually select between 6 to 8 companies and we fund them, which we call them as a disruptive startups who actually have a totally different idea solving a specific problem. And we've been doing that for a couple of years, and we're continuously doing it in the coming years as well. It's part of our program in the GTC. We fund startups strategically. So to come back to the question of, this is about disruptive and about the patent question that you have, right? Being an engineer, I wrote a couple of patents. I have all that listed. We used to joke among engineers who write patents. The best patent is, as soon as you release, somebody comes and sue you. That's the best patent. The lawyers comes and say, look, I want to sue you because you infringed my patent. That's the best ever patent, because people look at you, people look at a patent, look at a technology, and they think you're very similar to me, right? So there's a two type of classification of patents. One is defensive, the other one is offensive. I mean, of course, people have their own interpretation, but it's at least from normal engineer who writes patent. Offensive and defensive. Defensive, very much, I have a product, I want to write patent so that I protect myself, so that nobody comes near me, right? So startups, usually they go for a offensive, right? There's nobody has done it, I'm going to do, or I'm going to, bring down this particular 100 years old industry with my patent. So we believe this kind of offensive patents, which will actually transform the entire industry, they become the leader who's going to lead the entire industry. So for those kind of startups, corporate should come and help them, because if you don't help them today, they may one day buy you over.
Got it.
Or kill your own business, right?
Okay.
So that's what
Thank you. I think our time is up, but I'd like to squeeze in one more question, actually, to both of you. We all agree that our reliance on AI will deepen, and with that, the corporate strategies, but also the nation's strategies will become more dependent on it. Now, isn't this whole collaborative innovation agenda becoming a very geopolitical-driven agenda? Any quick thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, from our company perspective, we believe AI is going to be fundamental for every human being and how we're going to carry on our lives. So thus, I think the nation should not leave it to only corporates or startups to drive how to benefit out of AI. And that's why in NVIDIA, we have a program called AI Nation Program. Quite a number of governments, for example, in Singapore, we have AI SGInnovate, and many entities who have seen AI is going to become, or is already becoming, a very important part of every citizen's life. So they drive programs, they run programs targeted for the citizens. And a lot of institutes and government pillars actually using AI to make the citizens' life much better. So I believe, besides just getting the corporates and companies to drive AI, the countries and government should own the responsibility to embrace AI to make every citizen's life much better. That is important and vital, and they should start investing in it.
Okay, thank you. Anything to add?
Yeah, agreed with Ettikaan. So basically, this AI, actually, it is too broad, and it can be applied to just so many industries, and especially for like chips or like what Xjera is building, like all these like automatic like AI engines can actually be applied just to too many industries, and we have to collaborate with the like so many industry partners in all countries. So definitely, I think in the future, the economies will be more connected by the AI engines as well as cheap manufacturers.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we see. AI becoming a topic of how nations define who's going to lead the world,
There you go.
right? So that shows how important is AI.
I would love to dive deeper into that statement, but I'm afraid the time is up. Thank you, gentlemen, on behalf of the audience, for your sincere, honest, astute insights. I wish both of your organizations good luck in shaping our futures, whether that is independently or in a collaborative fashion. Thank you so much.
Give them a big round of applause, please. Thank you, Doctors Ethan, Ettikaan, and Joachim.